Welcome to another edition of Breaking News brought to you by Source Selection Soundbites. Today we will discuss the case of Obsidian Solutions Group, LLC or OSG decided at the GAO. In this acquisition, the Marine Corp was procuring services under an IDIQ to support Marine Air-Ground Task Force Training Support Services, or MTSS. The agency planned to award an IDIQ to all eligible offerers who had an acceptable technical approach, past performance, and small business participation, as well as a fair and reasonable price. Offerers were to demonstrate an acceptable technical approach by addressing, in oral presentations, two relevant scenarios. Obsidian's subcontractor WBB was participating in the oral presentations. One of the presenters on Team WBB was a former government employee who had an ethics opinion that his work with Obsidian or WBB after retirement was not problematic. In spite of this, the CO determined that the former government employee's participation in the oral presentation would create the appearance of impropriety because, 1. It creates the appearance of a special Obsidian and government relationship. 2. The government evaluators may give too much weight to the former government employee's opinion. 3. The former government employee was involved in the development of the SOP used in the competition. And 4. The former government employee used to be a supervisor. Given these facts, the CO eliminated Obsidian from the competition. Upon learning of the agency's decision, Obsidian protested the agency's actions. According to the protester, the contracting officer unreasonably excluded Obsidian's proposal from the procurement. Obsidian also argued that the standing operating procedures was clearly a public document that was provided to all bidders. Thus, no unfair competitive advantage was derived from the former employee's access to it. Moreover, Obsidian asserted that the former government employee had executed a non-disclosure agreement with his employer, WBB, confirming that he neither obtained nor would disclose any proprietary or source selection information. The agency argues that it properly excluded the protester because Obsidian had an unfair competitive advantage due to its access to competitively useful, non-public information. Specifically, the agency contends the former government employee had access to three kinds of non-public information: the SOP, the budget, and the incumbent contractor's performance history. En route to finding against the agency, GAO noted that the contractors were not competing against one another. Every contractor that was deemed to be acceptable with a fair and reasonable price would receive an award. Given this dynamic, no information would increase the likelihood of award in terms of comparison to other competitors. In addition, the SOP was published after it was developed. Therefore, it is very difficult to establish prejudice unless the documented evidence proves the former government employee shaped the requirements to favor the company of his or her employment. Given these facts, the protest was sustained against the agency. Now let's address a few of the lessons learned from this protest. They include: 1. A contractor that hired a former government employee may be disqualified from the competition for an appearance of impropriety. 2. The appearance of impropriety must be established by hard facts, but the appearance of impropriety cannot be assumed. And 3. When contractors are not competing against one another for an award, it's hard to establish that superior access to information prejudiced other offerers. In this episode of Source Selection Soundbites, we discussed the Obsidian case, hiring former government employees, and the principles of determining whether an OCI exists. This concludes today's Source Selection Soundbite. If this video was helpful, hit the like and subscribe button to ensure you don't miss any new material. If you want more details on the subject, they are available on the Source Selection Answer app. It contains lectures, quizzes, court cases, sample documents, and more material that allows practitioners to quickly obtain actionable knowledge. Thanks for watching. See you next time.